Hello, hello. We are still getting set up here. I want to make sure you can see me. Okay. Hello, this is my first live. I'm so excited. All right. Hello, I'm Dr. Karen Thomas. I hope you can hear me okay. It looks like audio may not be working. Let's fix that. All right. Let's see. Is that working? Looks like it's working here. Well, I think it is working. So if anyone pops in and you can't hear me, I'm going to be over here teaching yoga. So just drop a ton of emojis into the chat. I will. Know that you cannot hear me. Please make them kind emojis. And I'll run over and I've got a plan B in mind, but it looks like this should be okay. So we are going to go for it. Okay. My name is Dr. Karen Thomas. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. It is 6 p.m. here on the East Coast. And tonight, I'm going to be showing you some of my most favorite yoga moves to help chronic low back pain. So this is really in response to a research article review that I did recently. I'll link the video that I posted on YouTube related to that down in the description for later if you want to check it out. And it was all about, per the best current evidence out there, what are the best exercise interventions that help with chronic low back pain? And chronic low back pain is back pain that has lasted for more than 12 weeks or 3 months. And honestly, most of the folks that I've worked with in my time as a physical therapist treating patients for nearly 2 decades, it was chronic low back pain. Very few and far between did I see someone who experienced low back pain for less than 3 months. So best exercise interventions out there. The research article went over, what are the exercise interventions that help with reducing pain, but also that helped with improving physical function. And yoga happened to be one of the exercise interventions out there that helps with both of those things. So I thought I would do a live tonight. We're just going to do a little workshop, a little fun workshop. So if you've got some comfortable clothes on right now and you've got maybe like a yoga mat in your home or you're at the gym watching this, just you want something padded because you don't want to get down on the hard floor. We want to protect our joints, right? Just grab something like that. A carpeted surface should be okay. And we're just going to go over some of my most favorite moves. Not too many, no overwhelm here. My favorite moves in yoga that help with low back pain that I used to use with military service members all the time. I use these myself, and they're not just great at helping reduce low back pain and improving function, but I would say they're helpful with reducing pain in the hips, even the mid back and the neck. They're helpful with reducing pain in a lot of different areas of the body. So I think we should just dive in. The 4 big moves we're going to go over are cat cow, child's pose, cobra, and downward dog. Also, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and I will get to them. I don't want to hold you here all night. This is meant to be a short and sweet workshop. So if I don't get back to you during the live with the answers, I will get back to you at some point. So just drop those questions in the chat for me. Okay. Also, this is not meant to be like a yoga flow routine. It's a workshop. So we're going to work through these different poses because not all of us are well-versed in yoga, and some of us have thought about trying yoga or have tried it, and we're just not really sure what we're doing in the class, or something doesn't feel right because we're in pain. So I just want to bridge that gap. I want to make these movements a part of your everyday routine. I want you to be comfortable doing these because they are just lifesavers. So low back savers. All right, so let's do this. I think I've got things set up so that you'll be able to see me okay. All right, let's dive in. Let's do cat cow first. Now, I will say for this position, we're going to be on hands and knees. And let's say you have pretty bad knee arthritis, wear and tear, and just kneeling does not feel good. Feel free to put a pillow underneath your knees, or I'll show you a little trick you can do with your yoga mat that'll help. This yoga mat also is my most favorite because it is extra cushy, and especially if I'm doing a lot of mat work. So, I'm not up doing like warrior poses. I'm down on the mat for the majority of my moves. I really like a more cushioned yoga mat. And so I'll link this in the video description as well for you if you want to check it out. It's on Amazon. And I think I've had it for a long time. I've had it since 2019. So it's lasting, high quality. All right. So, cat cow. So let's say you've got some knee issues and you're like, Dr. Karen, I am not getting down on my knees. Well, first of all, if you've just got arthritis in your, let's say, shoulders, your wrists, your knees, and anything on the ground is just not happening for you, you can always do this movement. Really, you can almost do all these 4 movements in bed. I feel like I'm super far away from you. I'm going to move a little closer. There. That's better. like I'm down the block from you. Okay. But let's say you're like, no, I can get down on the ground and I can do this. So what you can do with your mat is you can just kind of fold it like this, because the position we're going to be in to start is this right here. So on hands and knees, your feet are relaxed. They're not up like this to start with, just nice and relaxed at the ankles. And that's just something you can do. You can also do that up here. If you've got wrist arthritis issues, pain, things like that, and you can really, make that as large as you need. Okay. But I digress. So, cat cow is a really great movement that it moves the spine into flexion and extension, but not to the point where we're like trying to ball up as much as we can, or trying to do like an up dog and bend backwards as much as we can. This is a wonderful movement that just starts to reintroduce flexion and extension or backward bending in the spine, with a very low risk of aggravating anything. So if you do have back pain, or history of back pain, and maybe you're fine now, and you're like, I'm not trying to flare anything up. What are we getting into? This is a very conservative exercise for you to try. So, to do this, you're just going to get on hands and knees. You want your hands to be underneath the shoulders. So you're not like this. It's just kind of, they're under the shoulders, and your knees are underneath your hips. The first movement we'll go into is cow. So with that one, your belly is just going to drop down towards the mat, and you're going to start to look up, drawing your shoulder blades down and back. And, let's say looking up doesn't really feel that great. That's okay. You can look down. It's whatever feels good on your neck. And you're going to take a big breath in and then breathe out. And now this next movement is cat. And as you can see, I'm like pushing myself away from the ground, and I'm arching my back. It's almost like someone is pulling your belly button up towards the ceiling with a string. They're just pulling you up towards the string. You're pushing yourself away from the ground, letting your neck relax, and then relax. So the general movement is cow and cat. And cow, big breath in, breathe out, and cat. And we're pushing ourselves away from the ground. Now, we can add some ankle movement into this. And so if you've been in a yoga class and you've heard your yoga instructor cueing you, or you've seen other people like starting to flip their ankles or their feet up and down, it's just an extra movement that's part of this general exercise, the cat cow. So typically how it goes is, let's see, we're going into cow first. So you'll take a breath in, and you're gazing up if it feels good on your neck. And that's when your feet kind of go up like this. Breathe out. and relax the ankles. Breathe in, feet flip up, breathe out, push away into cat. And what bonus also feels often really good after doing, however many that it feels good on your back. Typically, I'll recommend somewhere between like 4 and 5 cycles of that. And after you've done your preferred number of repetitions, what typically feels really good is still being in this position, just looking back. Like you're looking, you heard a noise and you're like, what's going on back there? You're trying to look over your shoulder. And what that does is, like, for example, if I'm looking over my right shoulder, it's a nice lateral flexion stretch. And it just feels so nice right in these deep muscles on the side of your body. So, especially if you have a history of low back pain, you're experiencing low back pain right now, I would say try that because it's it's not only a great stretch, but it's also going to move your body within a plane that you typically don't move in during the day. It's this frontal plane. How often are you side bending your body through the day? We don't normally do that too much. So that lateral trunk flexion, just mini stretch that you can do after you've finished with some of your cat cow movements, it feels so good. And it may even feel like that good hurt kind of sensation. Ultimately, it should feel good. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you should try it out. Okay. So that is our cat cow. Let's move into child's pose. I think the child's pose may be, aside from Shavasana, I think that child's pose may be my most favorite yoga pose of all time. It's just such a wonderful grounding uh, pose or exercise, stretch, whatever term you want to attach to it. It's very grounding and it's very restorative. So it's great to hold for not just 60 seconds, maybe a couple minutes. It's great to do as you integrate like meditation or visualization practices, more of your mindfulness practices into your routine, merge those with child's pose. It's just wonderful. If you're having a moment and the world is chaotic and you just need a second, child's pose is wonderful to help just soothe the nervous system while also stretching a lot of key muscles and opening up joints for more mobility. So, can you tell I'm a huge fan? I hope you like it. We're actually going to move into child's pose from our hands and knees position. So we just finished up with cat cow. What I would do first is you're going to separate your knees and bring your feet together. And then all we're going to do is you're just going to sit your buttocks backward and you're going to try to basically relax your buttocks on top of your heels. And as you're doing that, your arms are going to stretch forward and your forehead is going to relax down onto the mat. So it'll look something like this. So you can see that, this is a great hip opener. You're getting a little bit of a quadriceps stretch in there. If you have any, it's marathon training season right now. So if you're having any shin pain, any discomfort on the front of the lower leg, this is great because you're in this plantar flexed position here where the ankle is more, what's a better, how else do you describe plantar flexion? It's more straight like so. So it's stretching out all of those muscles on the front and it just feels good. It's just like, oh, that's the stretch I didn't know I needed. As we move higher up though, it's a really great stretch for your shoulders. So if you are typically tight here in the lats, maybe your shoulders are just generally stiff. Been there, am there. This is a really great stretch for that. So I'll demonstrate it just one more time for you. And by the way, I've got my blocks over here because I always have them nearby whenever I do yoga because it just kind of depends on how am I feeling today. Uh, am I feeling extra stiff? And if I am, I'll use those to help better support me. With child's pose, there aren't too many times when I can think of that I might need them unless maybe my neck is bothering me. So I'll show you with this next rep I'll do what you can do with a block. And you certainly don't need to go out and purchase blocks. You can use a pillow, or if you've got a foam roller nearby, or you could take your hoodie and ball it up and put it underneath your forehead, which is what I'm going to do with the block. But like, let's say, you separate your knees, your feet are together, and you're coming down and you're about to stretch out and relax. And you're like, yeah, I can't put my forehead down on the mat. What you can do with this is you can put it here or bring it to a lower level, and you can just rest your forehead on the block. So, and it just looks like that. And sometimes that just, these are amazing. When I first started doing yoga a long time ago, I just never really had a full appreciation for blocks. I honestly thought, like, if I used them, it was almost like a weakness, because I was like, no, I'm going to get into those positions and I can make this stretch happen, what have you. But then I just learned that, you've got to learn to meet your body where it's at sometimes, because it's not always go, go, go. It's not always push, 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 especially when you're trying to recover. You're having an active recovery day, for example, and you're like, oh, I want to do some yoga and stretch some things out, but I don't want to push my body to the limit today because I had a good workout yesterday or last night. Great time to break out these blocks anymore. I feel like I just have them near me for mostly all of the yoga routines I do. And if I don't use them, fine. But if I do, um, they're always there to support me. No pun intended. Okay, so we did our cat cow, we did our child's pose. Let's do cobra next. So cobra is, we're working our spine into extension again. So extension of the spine is we're going backwards. We're going back like that. Flexion is forwards, extension is backwards. And it's not very often that a lot of us extend our spines throughout the day, especially if you have a job where you are loading your spine throughout the day with extra resistance. So you're wearing a heavy pack around, you are weightlifting throughout the week, you're loading it with like the barbell or any kind of exercise where you're holding weight and that extra resistance is going down through the spine. Making sure that we're really working it not just into flexion, but extension is so important, because over time, what tends to happen is your body starts to get more and more stiff, mainly into extension, is what I have seen. And then that is when we see this type of posture start to form. That forward head. I know some of you are like, yeah, I look in the mirror like in the mornings and I'm like, what's happening? Or my spouse is telling me to stand up straight, and you're not alone. So over time, if you're not working on this extension, what can tend to happen is you try to correct it, you try to come up, but it either hurts and or you just can't. Like your spine is like stuck. And so what tends to happen then is your body's trying to extend, you're trying to come up, but it can't because there's just so much stiffness and or pain. And so your body's going to start to do some weird stuff and try to do what you're try to make happen what you're trying to make happen. It's trying to extend, but it can't. And so then your body demonstrates compensatory strategies. And that's when we start to see some funky postures start to happen and pain in the shoulders and other parts of the body. So, long story short, we want to make sure we're working extension. Beginner level 1, great way to do it is cat cow. That cat, no, I'm sorry, the cow movement. This one right here, where you're like this, that's a baby extension movement. Cobra is like the next level up. So let's go back into child's pose, because I like to personally move from child's pose into cobra. It just kind of feels good, like going back and forth between those two. So we've got our knees separated. I've got mine to the edges of the mat. Your feet are together and you're just going to Relax. Relax all the way back into child's pose. Take a big breath in and breathe out. Take a breath in and come up onto hands and knees. You're going to bring your knees together some. Put your hands underneath your shoulders, but I like to separate my hands out a bit before I lower myself down to the mat. And then you're just going to lower yourself down. So, why? Let's see. I want to set you up for success here. So, before you lower yourself down, your hands are like a little bit more forward now. They're not they're not like directly underneath your shoulders. They're just kind of maybe a little bit more forward. And then you'll lower yourself down. Before you press up into cobra, you really want your hands to be pretty close to the sides of your chest. And you can see my tops of my feet back there, they're relaxed. So we're not on high alert with our feet and ankles. They're just nice and relaxed and flat. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to take a breath in as you press up. You're pressing up to a degree that is tolerable for you. So, and we're only pressing up to the point where like your thighs basically are remaining on the ground. Something really a super common move in yoga is up dog, and that's where you can press up and like your thighs come off the mat. So it's like you're coming way up like this, but we're not doing that. Cobra is not that intense. Instead, we've got our hands next to our chest. We're going to take a breath in. You're going to bring those shoulder blades down and back as you breathe in. And you can look up a little bit if it feels good on your neck, but if not, you can just keep looking straight ahead. And you'll notice like my thighs are still on the ground. And then breathe out and come all the way back down. And that is cobra. Let's try another one. So big breath in. And maybe when you do this, you're taking a breath in and you're like, yeah, that's all I'm doing. That's where maybe your back starts to bark at you a little bit, or maybe that's just all that you can do, and that's fine. Breathe out. And that's it. And let's press back into child's pose. So take a breath in and breathe out as you begin to press back. So, and press all the way back into child's pose and just relax here for just a second or so. Anytime you do extension exercises, it's really good to just finish up, even if for just one repetition, with a flexion based exercise. Because again, we don't do a lot of extension based activities typically throughout the day. And so while we're working it, which is amazing, we don't typically want to end on an extension exercise. It just doesn't feel good. So to get our body back on our side, I would just end in something like child's pose. All right, we have one more. So we've done our cat cow, we've done our child's pose, we've done our cobra. Let's do downward dog. So honestly, downward dog is one of my most favorite things to do if I am wanting to stretch out slash warm up my calf muscles. It's also a great exercise to help start to loosen up the hamstrings. These are posterior chain muscles. So if you hear posterior chain, those are the muscles on the very back of your body. Typically, posterior chain, though, especially in a lot of, I would say weightlifting culture, we tend to focus more on like the glutes, the hamstrings, the calf muscles, the key muscles from the hip down. But it's really like your back muscles. It's the posterior, the back side of the body, that those are your posterior chain muscles. So downward dog is great at working them out, loosening them up a little bit. So let's see. Let's actually get on hands and knees for this. And then we're going to pop up into downward dog. And how I tend to like to do this, because many of our calf muscles are quite tight. from standing for prolonged periods during the day, sitting for prolonged periods throughout the day. I feel like we just live our lives in a way as a collective in which we are setting ourselves up for super tight calves. So it's almost like no matter what your fitness routine looks like, you should definitely have something in there that is helping to improve the flexibility and soft tissue mobility of your calf muscles. I am a huge fan of using downward dog to help loosen them up. So definitely like before runs, before any type of weightlifting routine that I do, before sports, even afterwards, downward dog. So when you hear me say here in a minute, once we pop up into it, we're going to walk it out. You'll see what I'm doing, but it's basically like you're lifting one heel up and then putting it down and lifting the opposite heel up. So it's like you're walking, but in place. So let's get on hands and knees. All right. And once you're ready, you are just going to pop up into this type of situation. And I wouldn't get too wrapped up in like the angle of your body, like are my hands too far out, this way, or should my feet be closer to my hands? I mean, that doesn't really matter so much as just can you pop up into a position where you're feeling the benefit of the thing you're trying to do. We want to put our bodies in a the best position possible to get a benefit out of what we're doing, right? So if you're trying to fit some mold for what you think downward dog should be, and this kind of goes for any exercise or any yoga move especially, you and you're in pain the whole time, it's like, well, is that really beneficial to you? So I wouldn't get too technical with it and worry because I've been asked this a lot. Like when I've taught downward dog in the clinic, it's like, don't worry so much about that. Just pop up and then just walk it out. Just walk your feet out, walk your ankles out, walk your calves out. So we're going to pop up like so. We're going to get into a comfortable position. And I will say, as we're walking it out like this, and it should feel good. It's like, oh yeah, my calves are super tight. As you press one heel down, you're straightening your knee. So alternating, lifting up the heel, relaxing, lifting up the other heel, relaxing. Every time you put a heel down, straighten the knee. And you should feel a really good stretch on the back of your calf or on the back of your lower leg where the calf muscles are. As you're doing this, another couple things to think about. I'm not really doing it right now because I don't want to be super loud into my mic, but you want to relax your neck. So, one common thing I see folks doing, and I think just like, I do this too. Like when sometimes I'll do downward dog and I have my head and neck just kind of like lifted up, like I'm ready for the next thing, or I'm just still halfway thinking about work and everything I'm going to do today. But you really want to relax your neck while you're walking out your feet and ankles. And then also with the upper body, think about it's like you're pushing the mat or the floor away from you. So it's not just this passive, you're up and your hands are just here on the mat. It's you're actively pushing the mat or the carpet or the floor down and away from you. And when you do that, you're going to feel more engagement of the muscles between your shoulder blades. I would argue also a little bit more activation of your core muscles. And so you're just going to get more out of the exercise. It's probably going to feel a little better too, especially if you have a history of shoulder issues. So, which I do from sports. And so that's why I say that actually helps alleviate some of my shoulder discomfort is when I'm actively pushing the mat or the floor away. So let's do just one more rep of this, and we'll do how about 6 total walking it out, 6 total steps, I guess we could say. And then after your 6th step, go ahead and just try to hold it in place. Just kind of see what that feels like. and then we'll wrap things up, okay? All right, so we are on hands and knees, and then whenever you're ready, you're gonna pop up and we're gonna find a comfortable position to start in. And I'm pushing, you can't you can't really tell, but I'm pushing the mat forward and down away from me. And we're just gonna walk it out a little bit. I'm surprised this mat has actually lasted this long with it's kind of been all over the world with like military and work travels, but it's hanging in there, especially with stuff like this where you're pushing into it. Okay, so we've walked it out. So now, try just holding. So it's a static stretch at this point. Your downward dog. You're pushing it away with the arms. At the legs level, though, if trying to keep your knees straight and your heels down on the ground, like if that's just not happening, don't even worry about it. You can definitely bend your knees a little bit because I'd rather you bend your knees and have your heels off the ground and be pushing the mat away from you than to try to make something happen that just isn't meant to happen. To try to force your body into this very uncomfortable, intense stretch. So there we go. Those are our, well, they're my favorite four yoga exercises that really do help alleviate a lot of low back pain. And yeah, if you have any questions about any of those, drop your questions in the comments. If there is anything else that you would really like to see in these live workshops, I would love to hear what your suggestions are. Anything like exercise based, anything yoga based, anything that really can help you overcome your frontline pain. That's why I'm here. So let's see. Also, in the description for this video, I do have some goodies for you. If you're looking for more ways to alleviate your low back pain, I put together, I called it my quick wins for back pain, or quick wins for your back free guide. And it just includes the 7 top exercises that I've used primarily working with frontline professionals, so military and first responders over the years to help them with their low back pain. So it's some exercises, but it's also some manual therapy techniques or self-massage techniques using different pieces of equipment. So check it out. It's free. So the link is in the description. And then, yeah, subscribe to my channel and let me know what you would love to do or what you would love to see on these future lives. And just thank you so much for showing up. I hope that the audio worked for all of this. It'd be terrible if it didn't. That's okay. This is good practice, and I'll just do it again next week and we'll figure out the audio situation. But I'm just going to hope that everything worked out okay. And I am going to be going live the next 2 Wednesdays this month. So 6 p.m. Eastern. I'll definitely put the live videos back up on YouTube. So they'll be there for the life of my channel. So for as long as you want to continue, going back to this as a reference or just maybe watching it for the first time and being like, oh, I didn't know that about cat cow, or, it's here for you as a reference to help you overcome your frontline pain. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you have an amazing night. And that's a wrap.